Hello and welcome to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland show. My name is Renata von Tscharner and we are going to talk about a very particular aspect of the Charles River Parklands. In fact, we're going to talk about swimming in the Charles River itself. And we have with us today a guest, a professor of Northeastern University, Ferdi Hellweger. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And he was all over the press in Europe this summer about taking students from Northeastern University to swim in European rivers. But let me take you back a little bit to explain of how that happens. Well, Ferdi, I'd like you to tell us, what do you teach at Northeastern that would take you to Europe?
Sure. Basically, I'm in the environmental engineering department. And so I teach classes in environmental engineering 1, hydrologic engineering. I also teach the environmental section of our senior design course. And at the graduate level, I teach hydrology and water quality modeling.
And of course, to show of how that can be done and to do that right in an example here on the Charles, probably is of great interest to your students who have been brainwashed by the song about loving that dirty water, that to show that this is possible must be quite an interesting challenge.
It's an interesting challenge because it's almost unbelievable to most people who live in Boston. As you said, there's the song, there's their own experience, which does not include swimming. So you really sort of have to say, look, this may be possible, and sort of try to hammer it into their heads a little bit. You know?
Yeah. We have a picture of the Charles River, and since you are originally from Hamburg, and the River Charles has a lot of similarities to the river and to the city you're coming from. You were wondering whether Boston and Hamburg are sister cities, and I remember having guests here from Hamburg. If they're not official sister cities, I mean, they should be, and they could be sister cities. Describe to us a little bit of how your city of Hamburg, where you're from, of how that has similarities to Boston and Cambridge.
Sure. I mean, basically, the Charles River is very similar in the way it was developed to Hamburg's Ulster River. And what I mean is that it used to be tidal. A lot of it was filled in to make land for development, and it was dammed. It is now dammed, and it actually also has 2 dams, just like the Charles River, and it is used for sailing. It is used for people running around and walking their dogs, just like the Charles River, and they now also have a swim race.
And they have a triathlon, I understand.
That's right. It's called the Hamburg Man. And so along all dimensions, it's very similar to the Charles River, so I think they should be considered sister cities.
What they also do have on the Ulster in Hamburg is they have wonderful restaurants right on the Ulster. That's something we don't have yet on the Charles.
That's one difference in that there really is no highways. One of the things that characterizes the Charles is that there's highways along its banks which really make access difficult. I haven't seen that in any of the European rivers, and I haven't seen it in the Ulster River. Really, there's not that dividing line between the river. There's cafes.
There are roads, but they're not quite as broad, as wide.
Yeah, there's no Storrow Drive.
There is no Storrow Drive, yeah.
But
there's a road that is similar to Memorial Drive in some parts, but they're not quite as, they don't feel quite as freeway-like as the Storrow Drive does.
Yes, that's correct. That may be the biggest difference that I can see.
Yeah. So that is in a way what your students are given the challenge of thinking about swimming in the Charles River. And I probably not everybody would recognize this picture on the Charles. We're looking here at the Esplanade. In the background is the Craigie Bridge, or where the Green Line crosses the river, where the Museum of Science now stands. And there were thousands of people swimming in the Charles before people were aware that the river, in fact, is not safe to swim. But today we will hear from an environmental engineer that things have changed. And you told me that you also were interested in swimming, that you enlisted in the race, this 1 mile race, the 1 mile swim race that has happened now twice. Over 150 people have participated. So you are a swimmer yourself.
I was an official registrant. I registered, which was part of the class that I taught. I challenged my students that we should all register for this race, and me and a few of them did. And I thought I was going to be able to train to be in shape and actually make the limit, which is to be able to swim 1 mile in 40 minutes. And
which is quite fast.
It's quite fast.
I've tried to train and yes.
And just before I realized that I would actually fall short. So when the swim race was canceled, just my own personal feeling was a little bit of relief.
Yeah, well, and I think because the swim race was canceled because of excessive rainfall, I think it made us aware that we really need more data, and you'll be speaking about gathering more data. We actually have a picture of the swim race, not of this summer, but of the year before, of those people in the river, and everybody who participated really loved the race, and we had wonderful feedback. But let's now go to your class of students at Northeastern, and we have a wonderful picture of them here. What was your mission when you went to Europe to study European rivers?
Well, basically, the class was motivated by the Charles River being swimmable. And what we the question that motivated was, why are people swimming in European rivers and not in the Charles? Why are people swimming in the Aare in Bern, and in the Rhine in Basel, and in the Danube in Vienna, but not in the Charles River in Boston? Is it because the water quality is better? Is it because the regulations are different? Or is it because the people's perception towards the attitude towards their water bodies is different? So what we wanted to do is basically answer that question. So we decided to study the Charles River, as well as several European levels, and ask those questions. So we visited several locations, and we met with experts to find out about the water quality, the regulations. At each location, we asked the people, we had a public opinion survey, we asked the people the same questions. Why are you swimming? Yes, no. Why are you not swimming? What does the river mean to you? So we would have statistics, and we measured the water quality.
Yeah, and I think we have a picture of how the testing happens here. This is in a pool, but you were interested in the method of testing.
Yeah, this is actually in Vienna, and we were hosted by the Vienna Department of basically the equivalent of the Department of Environmental Protection. And what they did to us is they showed us a very detailed and thorough overview of how they manage their water quality. What measuring methods do they use? So they allowed us to tour their lab, and they showed us their measurement techniques. And what you saw in the picture there was that how one of their employees measures the water quality, and we had one of our students right next to it taking our test, so we had a comparison sample. And in this picture that you're going to see here is actually taking a sample from the Danube, or the old Danube in Vienna, and there's our host explaining the sampling procedures.